with a big focus on the government shutdown and the economy. Who better to talk to than Paul Krugman, Nobel laureate, joins us right now here on The Close. And Professor Krugman, I do want to start off first with the shutdown. I mean, I was told heading into the shutdowns don't necessarily matter. They don't matter for the economy. They don't necessarily matter for the stock market. As somebody who spent, quite an onerous time trying to get back home over this weekend on an airplane, I can assure you it does matter. Is there any way to sort of quantify what the potential impact is of a 41-day and counting government shutdown?
It's really hard to pin down. We can talk about the impact on spending. We can talk about laid off federal employees and the what the money they don't spend, but nobody has ever really tried to quantify, as far as I know, the effects of air traffic control delays. I mean, what we're learning is that actually we kind of need a functioning government to have a functioning economy. This wasn't long enough to really do a lot of damage, but it was enough to show us, a 6-month shutdown would have been really, really bad. So it's significant. It's bigger than the standard macroeconomic analyses would suggest.
I am curious, though, about just kind of the state of the economy heading into this shutdown. The idea that even if we do strike a deal over the next couple of days, it could take a couple of weeks to get back to anything resembling normalcy. When you look at the state of the economy prior to the shutdown, how fragile, if at all, did you see it to be?
Well, there's two things I would say. First, the shutdown, at least the chosen issue, involved health insurance, involved the enhanced benefits, which are turning into which are going away on the Affordable Care Act, and Democrats caved on that. So 22 million Americans who have subsidized Obamacare insurance are about to see, or in the process of seeing, gigantic increases in their health insurance premiums, an average of 114%, according to Kaiser Family Foundation. And that is happening. That's happening despite the fact that the shutdown is over. So that's a pretty big factor. That's a pretty big hit, certainly to the finances of a lot of families, and probably some knock-on effects on the economy as a whole. The other thing you see is that people are really, really down on the economy. I mean, we talked about a vibe session under Biden, but the vibe session now, I mean, the economy ain't as great as Trump claims. Grocery prices are not, in fact, way down, but people are really, really negative. We have the worst consumer sentiment about current economic conditions, basically ever. Worse than, not just worse than the 2022 when we had 9% inflation, but
Right.
worse than the aftermath of the financial crisis, worse than the stagflation of 1980. People are really, really down on this economy, and I have to say, I don't think that the way this drama has been playing out is going to change that. If anything, we're likely to see, I was just hearing the tail end of what you're saying, ordinary people. People who are not in on the stock market are hurting and feeling extremely stressed.
Well, Paul, it's interesting that, coming out of this shutdown, one of the consequences is that we're going to get economic data figures to actually put some numbers to this economy's performance. But you think about some of the reports that have been delayed, at least 2 employment reports, CPI, PCE as well. It's unlikely that the BLS has been able to collect and actually process the data for some of these reports. And with that in mind, I wonder, what kind of quality we can expect in terms of trying to put some context around these vibes.
Yeah, we're going to have a ghost month. It appears that on labor market data, there will simply be a month that we know, anything could have happened in there. The BLS will never be able to catch up on that lost data. And we do worry a lot. I mean, there's been a problem with declining response rates and understaffed BLS even before. So the data quality is going to be a real issue. And, we're all looking at the soft data, the private surveys, none of which says that the economy is falling off a cliff, but a lot of which is at least a little bit alarming. And I'm particularly struck. I've been looking at Conference Board on our jobs plentiful or are they hard to get? And that number has fallen off a cliff. People feel really, really bad about job prospects right now in ways that the BLS numbers weren't showing before, but does suggest a kind of frozen labor market in which people, if you're new to if you're young, just getting in, or if you've been laid off, it's a really tough world out there. So this is going to be, I mean, it doesn't look like, it doesn't look like September 2008 with everything falling off a cliff, but it does kind of feel like this is starting to feel like a tough economy. And as I said, ordinary people are extremely pessimistic about the state of affairs.
Well, Paul, we only have about a minute left with you, but to that point, we saw a social media post from the president this morning saying that all money left over from the $2,000 payments made to low and middle income USA citizens from the massive tariff income pouring into the country will be substantial. The point being that we are discussing these one-time payments, $2,000, these dividend checks, if you will. Do you think that that's a good idea?
No, it's a terrible idea. I mean, we have an enormous budget deficit. The tariff revenue, which is, by the way, coming in substantially below what Trump administration officials said it was going to be. It's substantial, but it's not what they said it would be. It just makes a small dent in the enormous deficit. The fundamental fact is that the U.S. government is spending in ways that, I've been a long-term dove in terms of concerns about federal debt, and I don't think we're facing a crisis anytime soon, but we are certainly running given the absence of a national emergency, given the absence of a pandemic or a war, to be running deficits this large is just irresponsible. And the idea that, hey, we're going to take one source of revenue and use it to hand out money when we're meanwhile going ever deeper into federal debt, that's deeply irresponsible.
All right, Paul, got to leave it there. Really great to get some time with you. That is Nobel Prize winning economist Paul Krugman, distinguished professor of economics at the City University of New York, also the author of the Substack Krugman Wongs Out.